funny how life can change in an instant. 1 second, you're on autopilot, grinding through the daily noise of alarms, emails, dinner plans, and bedtime stories. And the next, everything you knew is gone. I'm a firefighter in a large southern city. I spent most of my life running towards chaos. Flames, wrecked cars, collapsed buildings. I'm the guy who suits up when everyone else is running the other way. But nothing I've ever seen, no fire, no disaster, no twisted wreck could prepare me for the hell I walked into on what should have been a normal Saturday night. It started like any other call. Late evening, cooling air, the smell of rain just starting to mix with smoke. I was gearing up, helmet on, radio crackling, my crew rushing around me. Standard procedure, muscle memory. Then my radio beeped. Our dispatcher's voice, clipped and serious. "Hold up, Cade. Emergency back home. Your family's been trying to reach you." My family. My wife, Melissa. My daughter, Emily. I reached for my phone, already feeling the dread, that tight pull in the gut you get when something's wrong. And there it was. A flood of texts. 9 messages from Emily, a couple from an unknown number, no calls from Melissa. I read the first one. "Dad, I fell. My wrist hurts so bad. Dad, I'm scared. Mom's not here." My daughter was in the emergency room. She'd fallen ice skating, broken her wrist, and she was alone. The unknown number turned out to be a friend of Melissa's, Jessica. She was the chaperone for the girls that went skating. She was the one who stayed with Emily, not Melissa, not her own mother. I called Jessica, and I could hear the hesitation in her voice. I could practically see her chewing on her words, trying to figure out what to say. "Jessica, where is Melissa?" She went to dinner, just a quick thing." "Dinner?" I asked, my voice flat. "Dinner where?" "Cade, I didn't want you to find out like this." "Find out what?" Silence, and then she said it, words that struck like a gut punch. She's with a man, at a hotel. His name is Trevor." My ears rang. I remember the weight of the gear on my shoulders. I remember the steam of my own breath inside the mask, fogging against my cheeks. But more than that, I remember the emptiness, the feeling of the ground just vanishing beneath me. I didn't even hang up. I just let the phone drop. Melissa and I always shared our locations. Part of being a firefighter, safety. She always knew where I was. I always knew where she was. Or so I thought. I opened the app, watched the tiny blue dot. She wasn't at her mom's. She wasn't even in the same part of town. She was at the Marriott, and she hadn't moved in hours. Hours. While Emily was scared, crying in an emergency room. While I was standing in the heat of a burning building, risking my life to provide for them, Melissa was with another man. They say when you find out you've been betrayed, it feels like dying. But for me, it felt like waking up. Like seeing clearly for the first time, every late night, every girl's weekend, every smile she gave me over dinner, pretending she was the perfect wife. All of it, fiction. All of it, rotting under a bright, clean surface. And in that one ugly moment, I knew I wasn't just losing her. I was losing everything I thought I'd built. I couldn't even cry. Not then. I was still on the clock. Still expected to throw myself into danger for people I didn't know, while my own family was falling apart behind my back. But the second the call was over, the second the fire was out and the sirens faded, I broke. I leaned against the side of the truck, helmet slipping from my hands. My crew thought I was winded. I wasn't. I was hollow. I tried calling her. No answer. Text after text ignored. But she did call Emily. Told her everything was fine. Said she'd be home soon. But she didn't sound like a woman rushing to her daughter's side. She sounded like someone covering her tracks. Emily got treated. Insurance handled. Cast applied. Jessica took her back to her grandmother's house. Back to the place Melissa had pretended to be all night. Oh, me? I stood there. Helmet in one hand, phone in the other, staring at the hotel's address. There was a time when I would have driven straight there, confronted them, demanded an explanation, made a scene, but all I felt was emptiness. I couldn't make myself fight for something that was already gone, so I did what I always do. I buried it. I went back to work, I finished the shift, saved someone else's family, all while mine burned quietly in the background. And by the time I got home, I knew that the life I thought I had, the family I thought I was building, was just a lie. But this isn't just a story about a man who found out his wife was cheating. It's a story about everything that came after. The decisions I made, the mistakes, the rage, the silence. This isn't a story I ever thought I'd have to tell, but it's my story, and it changed everything. I've always been the kind of man who believes in anchors, things you can count on, things that don't change, no matter how wild the storm gets. For me, my family was that anchor, a lighthouse in the chaos. No matter how bad the fire, how thick the smoke, how close the flames. I always knew I'd come home to Melissa and Emily. That was my reward, my reason, my faith. Melissa and I met on a rainy summer night. I was just a rookie back then, fresh out of the academy, still learning how to keep the fear off my face when the alarm bells rang. She was a waitress, saving up for her teaching degree, and she had this laugh, bright, unguarded, like sunshine breaking through gray clouds. She spilled a cup of coffee on my uniform that first night, her eyes wide with horror, and I laughed. I laughed harder than I had in months, and that was it. Game over. I was hers. Within a year, we were married. A small ceremony, just close friends and family. I remember standing there, my best man patting my shoulder, and watching her walk down the aisle. White dress, soft curls, a smile that made the world seem safe. Like no matter what happened out there in the chaos, here, I was loved. I was chosen. And a year after that, Emily came along, our little girl. She was a storm wrapped in sunshine, curly brown hair, green eyes that sparkled when she laughed. I held her for the first time, and I remember thinking, this is it. This is everything. We built a life together, a modest house in a quiet neighborhood, the kind with porch swings and barking dogs, with the smell of fresh-cut grass in the summer and pumpkin-spiced air in the fall. I worked long hours at the station, but I never minded. Every alarm bell, every raging inferno, every call in the dead of night. I did it all because I knew I was coming home to them. Melissa seemed like the perfect mom. PTA meetings, soccer practices, Christmas cookies for the neighbors. She had this way of making everything feel warm. Emily would run through the door after school, waving her report cards, and Melissa would hug her, spinning her around, the kitchen filled with laughter and the smell of fresh baked cookies. She volunteered at the animal shelter on weekends, organized neighborhood cookouts, hosted book clubs. To everyone who knew her, she was a saint, a picture-perfect wife, a doting mother, my own little miracle, and I believed it. I believed it with every fiber of my being, but looking back now, I can see it. The shadows lurking beneath the smiles. The cracks in the picture I thought was perfect. It started with little things, moments I ignored because I didn't want to see. I remember the first time she mentioned her girls' weekends. She and her mom had a tradition, she said, a way to reconnect. Just the two of them, shopping, spa days, some time to unwind. And I didn't question it. Why would I? She deserved a break. She deserved to feel loved, to feel cherished, and I was too busy with shift after shift, overtime to pay off the house, to save for Emily's private school, to give them a life I thought was worth having. I was the one who encouraged her. Go Mel, have fun, you deserve it. She'd smile, kiss me, and promise to bring back a souvenir, and she always did. Little trinkets, keychains, postcards from tourist spots, but the souvenirs were just masks, disguises for the reality I couldn't see. Every time she'd leave, I'd get this ache, a quiet, knowing whisper in the back of my mind, but I silenced it, smothered it with logic. She's your wife. She's a great mom. She loves you. Why would she ever hurt you? But there were signs. I just didn't know how to read them. Like how she always seemed tired after these weekends, bruises on her neck that she brushed off as allergies or mosquito bites, or how she'd come home smelling faintly of cologne that wasn't mine. Just the hotel soaps, she'd laugh, waving it off. They overdo it on the scents. And I believed her, because why wouldn't I? Then there were the phone calls, late at night, whispered in the kitchen, door half closed. I'd ask, and she'd say it was her mom, going through a tough time. I trusted her. I thought I was a good husband, the kind who didn't pry, the kind who gave her space. But space became a canyon, and I was too busy saving strangers to see my own life falling apart. Our bed, once a place of laughter, whispers, warmth, it started to feel like a cold, empty space. She'd roll away, saying she was tired, headaches, stress. I blamed myself. I told myself I needed to work less, to be home more, to show her how much I loved her. I never imagined that someone else already had. Looking back now, I can see it so clearly. The way she'd light up at certain texts, the way she'd hum songs I never heard on the radio. The way she started wearing that deep red lipstick, the one I used to love but hadn't seen in years, every time she left for a girls' weekend. But I was blind, willingly blind, because I believed in us. I believed in our vows. I believed in the woman who once walked down that aisle with a smile that felt like a promise. And so I ignored the doubts. I drowned them in overtime, in smoke and ash and sirens, in saving strangers, while I couldn't even see the one person I loved most was already sleeping away. If you had told me then that I was living in a lie, I would have laughed. I would have defended her. I would have bet my life that she would never betray me. Because love isn't just blind, it's deaf, it's trusting. It's giving someone the power to destroy you and praying they never do. But Melissa did, over and over again. Every girls' weekend, every whispered call, every false smile over breakfast, while Emily babbled about her school projects. And I was the fool standing in the ashes of a burning house, wondering why I couldn't see the flames. There are moments in life that don't just hurt. They leave scars. Moments that brand themselves into your memory, burning so deeply that even time can't dull their edges. For me, that moment came on a quiet Saturday night, a night like any other, or so I thought. We were wrapping up a routine call, a minor kitchen fire, smoke thick but controlled. I stood there in full gear, feeling the familiar weight of the helmet pressing against my temples, the rubber of the gloves warm against my fingers. Around me, the team moved like clockwork, checking equipment, laughing, swapping stories. Just another call, just another night. But then my radio crackled. A voice, our dispatcher, her tone clipped, urgent. "Cade, there's an emergency. Your family has been trying to reach you." My heart skipped. The air seemed to thicken. My family, Melissa, Emily. I ripped off my helmet, my fingers fumbling for my phone. A flood of notifications lit up the screen, texts, missed calls, the battery percentage dropping faster than my pulse. 9 texts from Emily, 2 from an unknown number, nothing from Melissa. I clicked on Emily's messages first, my hands shaking.
"Dad, I fell. My wrist hurts so bad. Dad, I'm scared. Mom's not here. Dad?" The last one hit like a knife. I could see her, my little girl, scared, alone in some sterile emergency room, the ache in her tiny wrist, nothing compared to the fear in her heart. And Melissa? Where was she? Why wasn't she with Emily? I dialed Emily's number first, but it went straight to voicemail. I tried again. Nothing. Panic clawed at my chest. I pulled up Melissa's contact, called. No answer. I texted. Nothing. But the unknown number, I hesitated, then called it. A woman answered, Jessica. I knew her, Melissa's friend, the kind who showed up at every barbecue, always with a loud laugh and a new boyfriend. Jessica, I managed, trying to keep my voice steady. Where's Melissa? Is she with Emily? A pause, just a heartbeat too long. Cade, I'm so sorry. I'm with Emily. She's getting checked in now. She's okay. Well, her wrist is broken, but she's okay. Okay? I nearly shouted, the panic boiling over. Then where is Melissa? Why isn't she with Emily? Jessica's voice wavered. Cade, please don't hate me. I didn't know how to tell you. She said she was going to dinner, but I tracked her location because I got worried. Dinner. Melissa was out to dinner while our daughter was in the ER? But that didn't make sense. Nothing made sense. Dinner where? I demanded, my voice hard as steel. Jessica's breath was shaky. Cade, she's at a hotel with someone. A man. His name is Trevor. Trevor, just a name, just a sound. But in that moment, it became everything. A stranger's name that crashed into my life like a sledgehammer. Jessica, are you sure? I whispered, my voice barely more than a breath. I'm so sorry, Cade. I didn't want you to find out like this. I hung up, my fingers numb. My legs felt like they didn't belong to me. Around me, my crew was still laughing, joking, slapping each other on the back, and I was standing there, frozen in the middle of a storm only I could feel. I opened the location app, the one Melissa and I always used for safety, part of being a firefighter. We always knew where each other was, just in case. I zoomed in, a blue dot, not at her mother's house, not at the ER, not even near any restaurant. No. She was at the Marriott, a few miles across town. I tapped it. The app loaded, showing the room number. She wasn't just having dinner. She wasn't just out. She was with someone else. She was with Trevor. My throat tightened, a cold, bitter wave of nausea washing over me. I wanted to believe it was a mistake, that the app was wrong, that Jessica was wrong, that any moment Melissa would text me, would call me, would explain that this was all some horrible misunderstanding. But my phone stayed silent. I stared at the hotel's address on the screen, the little blinking dot that mocked me with its stillness. Hours. She'd been there for hours, while our daughter was in the hospital, while I was risking my life, rushing into burning buildings, providing for a family that was already crumbling behind my back. I turned, stumbling towards the truck, my breathing shallow. My captain saw me, his face shifting to concern. Cade, you okay, man? I didn't even answer. Couldn't. I leaned against the truck, feeling the cold metal through my gloves. My chest was tight, a weight pressing down, harder and harder. I ripped off the gloves, tossed them into the truck bed. My hands trembled, the phone slipping from my grip. It clattered against the asphalt. I stared at it, at the cracked screen, the hotel address still glowing like a wound. I wanted to go there, to storm through that hotel room door, to see it for myself, to demand answers, to scream, to rage. But I couldn't. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. It was like being trapped under rubble, heavy, suffocating, everything closing in. The sound of my own heartbeat thundered in my ears, a wild, erratic drum. And then, darkness. And in that darkness, I was falling endlessly, but not alone. Whispers surrounded me, like voices just out of reach. Panic clawed at me, but I couldn't scream, couldn't move, just falling. Then just as suddenly, I wasn't. The darkness melted, replaced by a warm golden light, blinding but soft. I was standing somewhere, nowhere, but I felt calm. A peace I hadn't known in years washed over me. No anger, no fear, just quiet. And then I saw him. A figure stepping out of the light, tall, radiant. I couldn't see his face, but I didn't need to. I knew. Deep in my soul, I knew. It was Jesus. No words were spoken. None were needed. He didn't condemn, didn't accuse. He just looked at me, looked through me. And in that gaze, I felt every part of myself exposed. Not just the pain, not just the rage, but the emptiness, the shame, the moments I thought I was strong, but was really just numb. Tears spilled down my face. I fell to my knees. Not out of fear, but because the weight of that love, that forgiveness, it was too much, too pure, too complete. I don't know how to go on. I whispered, broken, trembling. His voice was a whisper in my heart. You are not alone. The light grew, warm and all-consuming, and then, like a snap, I was back. Gasping, kneeling on the cold asphalt beside the truck, the night air biting against my skin. But I was different. That peace, it stayed with me. Not as a blanket, but as a spark, a whisper of hope in the darkness. I stood, picked up my phone, and walked back to the station, silent, steady, breathing. For the first time in a long time, I knew what I needed to do. They say that after a storm, there's always calm, but they never tell you that sometimes the calm is worse. Sometimes it's just a cold, hollow silence where your thoughts become the thunder, and your memories are the lightning that strikes again and again, burning the same wound. For the next few days, I moved like a ghost, not just at work, but at home. There was this heavy quiet between us, Melissa and I, a silence so thick it felt like walking through smoke. Emily came home with her tiny wrist wrapped in a pink cast, her little fingers peeking out, decorated with stickers that the nurse had given her. She didn't understand what was happening, didn't know why her mom's hugs felt forced or why her dad's smile never quite reached his eyes. Melissa did what she always did, wore a mask. To Emily, she was still the loving, doting mom. overly attentive now, always hovering, fussing over her, braiding her hair, baking her favorite cookies. But it was just noise, a distraction, a desperate attempt to drown out the truth neither of us could say out loud. And me, I drowned too. But not in sweetness. I drowned in smoke, in sirens, in overtime. I volunteered for every shift. The captain thought I was a hero, called me relentless. But I wasn't trying to save anyone. I was trying to lose myself. Because out there, in the chaos of burning buildings and shattered windshields, the screams and the heat, I didn't have to feel anything else. I didn't have to see her face. I didn't have to remember that hotel address. But no matter how many calls I ran into, I always had to come back. Always had to turn the key in that front door, step into a house that smelled like cinnamon and lies. And every time, there she was, Melissa, watching me with those guilty, pleading eyes. Eyes that silently begged for forgiveness, but never spoke the truth. It wasn't long before the tension broke. One night, I came home, soot-streaked, sweat-soaked, smelling like ash. Emily was already asleep. Melissa was sitting on the couch, her phone face down on the coffee table, just sitting there, like she was waiting for me, waiting for the conversation I had been avoiding. But I was too tired, too numb. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice thin, cracking at the edges. I walked to the kitchen, grabbed a beer, popped the cap, and leaned against the counter. "Talk? Now you want to talk?" Her lip trembled. "Cade, please, I can explain." "Explain what, Melissa?" I snapped, my voice louder than I intended. "Explain why you weren't there when our daughter was in the hospital? Or explain why I had to hear from Jessica that you were with someone else?" She flinched. Tears welled in her eyes. It wasn't like that. I was lonely, Cade. You're always gone, always at the station, always working, and I didn't know how to tell you." "Tell me what? That you were sleeping with some guy while I was out saving lives? That you traded our family for a cheap hotel room and a lie?" My voice cracked, the anger burning out of me faster than I could control. "It wasn't serious," she whispered, wiping her eyes. It wasn't love. It just happened a few times." "Just happened?" I laughed, cold, hollow. "A few times? So that makes it okay?" "No," she cried. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Cade. I made a mistake. I was weak. I felt forgotten." Forgotten? I slammed the bottle down on the counter, glass chipping. "I worked my soul to the bone for this family, for you, for Emily. I gave you everything, and you were lonely?" Her face twisted in pain. "It wasn't just about you, it was about me. I didn't know who I was anymore. I was just your wife, just Emily's mom. I didn't feel alive." "Alive?" I shook my head, feeling my chest tighten. "So you found life in the arms of a stranger, while our daughter cried in a hospital room?" "I didn't know she got hurt," she screamed, her voice cracking. "I swear I didn't know." "And that's supposed to make it better?" I whispered, the rage giving way to something colder, emptier. "You didn't know because you weren't there. You were never there. Not for her. Not for me." Her shoulders shook, sobs racking her frame. But I felt nothing. Not pity, not sympathy. Just a dull, distant ache. And a sense of weightlessness, like I was watching this all from the other side of a window. "I didn't want this," she whispered, curling into herself. "I love you, Cade. I love you." "You don't even know what love is," I whispered, turning away. "If you did, you wouldn't have done this." And I walked out. Out into the cold night, the wind biting at my face, stars scattered across a sky that didn't care. I stood there, staring at nothing, feeling the empty ache in my chest. By the time I walked back inside, Melissa was still crying, her face buried in her hands. But I didn't speak, I didn't touch her. I just walked past, climbed the stairs, and sat beside Emily's bed, watching her sleep, listening to her soft breaths. And in the quiet of that dark room, I realized I was already saying goodbye. I wish I could tell you that leaving was a decision I made in one brave, defiant moment. That I stormed out, head held high, dignity intact, but that's not how it happened. No, leaving was a slow death, a series of quiet suffocations, a whisper that turned into a scream, and by the time I finally walked away, I was already a ghost. The night I confronted Melissa, it felt like ripping a wound open and hoping to find something that made sense. But nothing did. I watched her cry, her face twisted with regret, her voice cracking, saying all the things I thought I wanted to hear. Apologies, promises, excuses tangled up with desperation. "I'll do anything, Cade. I'll quit my job. I'll never see him again. We can go to counseling. I'll change. Please, don't leave me. Her words spilled out like a broken faucet, rushing, pleading, drowning the room. But I didn't hear them. Not really. I watched her lips move, watched the tears trace rivers down her cheeks, but it was like watching a bad movie. The emotions were there, but they didn't touch me. Not anymore. Because something inside me had already snapped. A final thread pulled too tight for too long. I looked at her. This woman I had once called the love of my life, and all I saw was a stranger. A stranger who wore the face of the woman I used to adore, but whose eyes were nothing but dark, empty windows. I turned away, staring out the window. Rain tapped against the glass, a soft, rhythmic whisper. And in that rain, I saw my reflection. Tired, hollow, a man who had spent years building a life on the foundation of a lie. I can't do this, I whispered, the words barely louder than a breath. Her voice wavered, a fresh wave of panic washing over her. Cade, please, don't say that. We can fix this. We can... There's nothing to fix, I cut her off, my voice steady, flat. I gave you everything, everything I had, and it wasn't enough. She reached for me, but I stepped back, her touch like a spark on dry paper. Too much, too close. Don't, I breathed. Don't touch me. I love you, she whispered, her voice cracking. No, you don't. My words were a knife, cold, sharp, final. You loved having me, you loved the idea of me. But love doesn't lie. Love doesn't cheat. Love doesn't leave your child crying in an emergency room while you're in a hotel with another man. Her knees buckled. She sank to the floor, her sobs muffled by her hands. But I felt nothing, just empty, numb, already gone. I turned, walked past her, the hallway, a blurred tunnel. I climbed the stairs, one step at a time, feeling the weight of the air pressing down on me. Emily was asleep in her room, her tiny form curled under a mountain of blankets, her little cast resting against her pillow. I leaned against the doorframe, watching her breathe, listening to the soft hum of her tiny snores. My little girl, my light in the darkness. I had tried so hard to protect her, but even I couldn't shield her from this. I knelt beside her bed, brushing a strand of hair away from her forehead, watching her chest rise and fall. My little girl. Her world should have been filled with laughter, friends, and the simple worries of which dress to wear to the next school dance. But instead, she was tangled in a web she didn't even know existed. And for the first time that night, a tear slipped out. Hot, bitter, a drop of shame I couldn't swallow. I stood up, closed her door, and turned to find Melissa still in the hallway, her hands trembling, eyes red and desperate. Cade, please, just let me talk. Her voice was a mix of guilt and panic, like a child caught stealing. But even then, she wasn't sorry for what she'd done. She was sorry she got caught. What are you going to say, Melissa? I asked, voice flat. That it didn't mean anything? That it was a mistake? That you didn't mean for it to happen? She stepped forward, her fingers twitching at the hem of her sweater. It was just, I don't know how it started. I was lonely, Cade. You're always gone, always working. I needed someone who was there. I laughed, cold, bitter. So you needed someone there, huh? While I was running into burning buildings, putting my life on the line so you and Emily could have the perfect life, you needed someone? There? It wasn't just that, she whispered, tears now flowing freely. It just happened. No, Melissa, nothing just happens. You made a choice, over and over again. She tried to touch me, but I pulled back, a wave of nausea rolling over me. Was it always Trevor? I asked. Or were there others? She looked away, and that was all the answer I needed. My heart crumbled in my chest, but my face was a mask, numb, cold, already gone. I walked past her, straight to our bedroom, grabbed an old duffel bag from the closet. I didn't pack much. A few shirts, jeans, socks, my fireman's jacket, the one with the soot stains I could never wash out, the one that smelled like smoke and sweat but felt like armor. My passport. A few $100 in cash I kept tucked in an old shoebox for emergencies. This was an emergency. A different kind. Downstairs, Melissa's sobs were muffled. Her shadow curled on the living room floor. I didn't speak, didn't touch her. Just walked past, my boots echoing against the hardwood. The front door clicked behind me, and the cold air wrapped around me, biting sharp. I climbed into my truck, the engine roaring to life. My hands gripped the steering wheel, the cracked leather pressing into my palms. My phone buzzed in my pocket, a new text. I didn't have to look to know it was her, but but I pulled it out anyway. Her name glowing on the screen, a long paragraph already visible. Katie, please, I'm sorry. I love you. I love us. Please don't leave. We can get through this. We can fix it. Just come back, please. I stared at it, at the words that once would have melted me. But now they were just ink on a page, hollow, meaningless. I swiped left, blocked the number, tossed the phone onto the passenger seat and drove. The rain whispered against the windshield, the wipers sweeping it away, only for it to return, relentless. I didn't have a plan, didn't know where I was going. I just drove. Past the quiet suburban streets, the closed stores, the empty gas stations glowing in the dark. After an hour, I found myself at a cheap roadside motel. The kind with flickering neon lights and a no vacancy sign that looked like it hadn't worked in years. I paid in cash, gave a fake name, and stepped into a room that smelled like stale cigarettes and cheap air freshener. The bed was stiff, the walls were thin, but it was quiet, and it wasn't home. I threw the bag on the chair, kicked off my boots, and sat on the edge of the bed. My eyes burned, my chest ached, but the tears wouldn't come, just that same hollow numbness. The phone buzzed again, this time another number, another text. I picked it up, my mother. Cade, honey, Melissa called. She's worried. Please talk to her. Don't throw everything away. I turned off the phone, pulled the battery out, tossed it on the floor. I didn't want to hear it. Didn't want to hear the excuses, the pleas, the attempts to fix something that was already dead. Because they didn't know. They didn't see what I saw. They didn't feel the cold emptiness that had replaced my heart. I lay back on the stiff mattress, stared at the flickering light on the ceiling and tried to sleep. But sleep didn't come. Only memories. Her laughter, her kisses, the way she'd whisper, "I love you" in the dark. Memories that felt like ghosts clawing at me, dragging me back. But I didn't answer them, didn't let them pull me under. And somewhere in that empty, flickering room, I realized this wasn't just the end of my marriage. This was the end of who I used to be, the husband, the provider, the man who believed that love was enough. That man was gone, and in his place was someone else. Someone who had to rebuild, brick by broken brick, but not here. Not anymore. There's a quiet kind of madness that comes after a heartbreak like this. A slow, creeping insanity that doesn't shout, it whispers. And it whispers at the worst times, when you're alone, when the world has gone dark, when the only voice you can hear is the little one in your own head, repeating the same questions over and over until they become a prison. Why didn't I see it? Was I blind? Stupid? Too trusting? Did I push her away? In those first few weeks, I lived in that prison. I wandered its cold, empty halls, replaying memories like a broken record. I would lie on the stiff motel mattress, staring at the cracked ceiling, and see her face, smiling, laughing, whispering promises that now tasted like ash. I tried to forget, but memories are ghosts, and ghosts don't leave just because you want them to. I'd think back to the first time she smiled at me, Melissa, with that wild, carefree laugh, her eyes bright with life. I'd think about our wedding day, her hand trembling slightly in mine, her voice a soft whisper as she said, "I do." I'd think about the first time I held Emily, her tiny fingers gripping my thumb, her soft breath against my chest. Were those memories lies too? Or were they real once, before everything soured, before the masks, before the lies? I would sit in the darkness and drive myself mad with questions. But in the end, they were all the wrong questions, because this wasn't my failure, it was hers. Trust isn't a gift, it's a choice. It's a choice to be loyal, to be honest, to protect the person who trusts you. And she made a choice too, a choice to betray that trust. A choice to look me in the eye every morning, kiss me goodbye, and then walk straight into someone else's arms. A choice to lie, over and over again. But even knowing that, even seeing it so clearly now, it didn't stop the pain. It didn't stop the questions. Because that's the thing about betrayal. It doesn't just destroy your faith in them, it destroys your faith in yourself. It makes you question your own judgment, your own worth. I tried to bury it. I tried to drown it in overtime. More shifts, more calls, running into burning buildings, because at least there I could save someone. At least there the danger was real. At least there I was in control. But the pain followed me. It clung to me like smoke. It slipped into my dreams, twisted them into nightmares. I'd see her, Melissa, standing at the end of a dark hallway, her face hidden in shadow. And when she turned, it wasn't her face at all. It was Trevor's, a stranger, a man who had stolen everything from me without ever knowing my name. I hated him with a fire that burned hotter than anything I'd ever known. But hate is just another kind of prison, another set of chains. And the worst part, he probably didn't even think about me. I was just an obstacle, a problem to be ignored. But Melissa, she was different. Because she knew me. She knew my dreams, my fears, my secrets. And she had used that knowledge like a weapon. Sometimes I'd drive by the house, late at night, headlights off, engine quiet. I'd see the porch light still on, a shadow moving through the living room. And I'd wonder if she was thinking about me, if she regretted it, if she missed me, or if she was just relieved to be free. But I never stopped, never knocked, never called. My mother tried reaching out, her voice a soft, worried murmur on my voicemail. "Cade, honey, please talk to me. Melissa's a mess. Emily's confused. She keeps asking where you are. I know you're hurting, but this isn't the way." But it was. It was the only way. Because going back meant being a prisoner in my own life, smiling, pretending, choking on the lies that had strangled everything I thought was real. So I didn't answer. I didn't explain. I didn't justify. I just disappeared. I started sleeping in the truck some nights, parked by the riverbank, watching the moonlight ripple on the dark water, listening to the soft rustle of the trees. It was the only place I felt calm. The only place the world felt quiet. I'd sit there, watching the river flow, and I'd talk to the darkness. Sometimes I'd talk to Melissa, not the woman she became, but the woman I thought she was. Sometimes I'd talk to Emily, apologizing for leaving, for not being there. Sometimes I'd talk to myself, the man I used to be, the man who believed that if you worked hard enough, loved deeply enough, you could build something that lasted. But in that quiet beneath the stars, I started to understand something. Healing isn't about forgetting. It's not about pretending it didn't happen. It's about facing it, feeling it, letting it hurt, letting it burn, and then choosing to keep walking, even when you don't know where the road leads. I'm not healed, not even close. I still check my phone out of habit, half expecting to see her name, half hoping I won't. I still wake up some nights thinking I should be home, thinking I should be with them. That maybe this was all just a nightmare, and I'll wake up to find her lying beside me, Emily's soft breathing in the next room. But I won't go back. I won't be a prisoner of her lies. I won't trade the pain of loneliness for the comfort of a lie. Because in this emptiness, in this quiet, I am free. Broken, yes, but free. And that's a start. Because for the first time in a long time, I don't have to pretend. I don't have to smile when I'm dying inside. I don't have to fight for someone who never fought for me. And maybe one day I'll be able to trust again. Maybe one day I'll meet someone who doesn't just say they love me, but proves it. Maybe one day I'll tell this story without feeling the ache. But even if I don't, even if the scars never fade, I know this much is true. I survived. I walked through the fire. I was burned, I was broken. But I didn't stay down. And that has to be enough. Sometimes I still see her face. Not the way she looked at the end, tear-streaked, desperate, a stranger wearing a mask of guilt. No. I see her the way she was when we first met, laughing, carefree, eyes bright with a light I thought was love. I see the woman I married, the woman I thought I'd spend forever with. And sometimes, I see her in Emily's smile, a flicker of her laugh, a tilt of her head, that same stubborn spark. I can't escape her. Not completely. Because you don't just forget someone who is your world. You don't just erase 12 years of memories, of quiet mornings, of whispered promises in the dark. But I don't hate her. Not anymore. Hate is a poison you swallow, hoping it hurts someone else. I won't be its prisoner. I won't be a prisoner of her choices, of her lies, of her regrets. She has her demons to live with. And I have my scars. But they're just that, scars. Proof of a wound that tried to kill me but didn't. I used to think that love was a fortress, a place you built and protected. But I've learned that real love, it's a fire. It can warm you. It can light your way. But if you aren't careful, if you trust the wrong hands, it can burn you alive. Some nights I still sit by the riverbank, watching the moonlight ripple on the dark water. I still talk to the sky, still whisper my questions into the breeze, but I don't expect answers. I don't need them. I know who I am now. I know what I deserve. And I know that even in the darkest moments when I felt alone, when the emptiness threatened to swallow me, there was a light, a whisper, a promise. You are not alone. And I wasn't. Not then. Not now. So if you're listening to this, and you've been where I've been, if you've been lied to, broken, betrayed by the one person you thought would never hurt you, I need you to know something. The fire didn't destroy you. It refined you. You are not the ashes of what they did. You are the flame that survived.